Hi, how everybody doing? So I choose to do a video on it rather than write out all the solutions. So um, we'll look at question one, and you can listen to the video, look at your paper, and write down your solutions, right? So this first one here was dealing with the procedure. So the first procedure would have been to obtain a medium-sized potted plant. The second procedure would be to water the plant heavily, right, and enclose with the polythene bag, which is transparent, that is covering the pot, the soil to the base of the stem, right? Then number three, would measure the weight of the potted plant using your beam balance. Then you would record that weight, then place that plant now close to a window, and then you would measure the weight every hour for 12 hours and record those weight readings, right? So that would have been your procedure. If you go along with the other question, state one precaution that should be taken to ensure that the results are accurate. You would make sure that the bag has no tear on it and it is tightly sealed around the base of the stem, right? Also, next precaution, they would have been taking the plant at every hour and measuring it, ensuring that you don't disturb that bag there where water from the soil could be evaporated. We want all the evaporation to take place at the leaves, right? And then the next part is suggest two factors that may affect the rate of transpiration of the potted plant. That would have been, Adrian gave us that. That would have been the temperature and wind activity. Then we have draw a suitable table and record the results presented in the graph. So you draw your table, two columns, one with the weight of the potted plant and the next one with time. Right? During what time period was the rate of transpiration the highest? You look at your steep slope in your graph, that would have been 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Right? Then we will state what two reasons for the shape of the graph during each of the following time periods, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. The room now heating up, and you have photosynthesis now taking place. So you have it slowly happening. Water is now moving up from from the soil, the roots, up the xylem, right? So rate of transpiration is slow or now starting. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Well, that is where you have the temperature of the room very high. So the rate of transpiration would have been the fastest there. And you would already have enough water coming up in the xylem. And 12 noon to 2 p.m., that is where you had whatever water you put in any beginning, it has already left the plant. So you have the rate of transpiration there tapering off in that straight line on the graph. All right. Discuss how transpiration helps plants to move water from their roots to their leaves. This is part C1. Again, we mentioned it in class today. You would put down transpiration pull, so that reduces the water concentration in the plant. So then in the soil, you have more water than in the plant. So by osmosis, it moves from the soil into the root hairs, into the main root, to the bottom of the stem, enters the xylem. Properties of water, cohesion, adhesion, crawling up the xylem due to the pull and capillarity action. All right. Part two, you would have the use of magnesium is to make chlorophyll, calcium to absorb nitrogen compounds for plant growth. Nitrogen is used by plants to make proteins. Suggest two reasons why plants need protein: for plant growth and for chlorophyll production. Question two, carbon cycle. State the name of the processes numbered 1 to 4. So 1 is photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide leaves the atmosphere and enters the leaves of the plant. And then we'll have part 2. There is your plant respiration. Carbon dioxide goes back into the atmosphere. Part 3, you have combustion by the fossil fuels, by the factories. So carbon dioxide going back into the air. And then you have respiration by your decomposers as your part 4. All right. Name one type of organism responsible for decomposing organic waste. Fungi or bacteria would be appropriate there. Explain 2 ways in which the type of nutrition carried out by the organism named. So how the nutrition between a decomposer and a plant is different. First, the decomposers converts the complex substances into simpler substances, and the plant converts simple substances into complex substances, right? And the decomposer, the next difference there is the decomposers are eating ready-made food while the plant is making their own food, right? So make sure you understand the two ways they are different. One making their own food, the other one eating ready-made. And then the process in which the both does so is different. One is converting complex to simple, and the next one is converting simple to complex. State 2 reasons why the type of organism named in the decomposer is important to the ecosystem. They help convert the complex substances into simple and help with the cycling of nutrients in the ecosystem. So just 2 reasons why carbon dioxide is described as a greenhouse. The carbon dioxide gets trapped in the upper atmosphere, so it forms a blanket around the earth. And also, due to that, the high energy rays that are coming in, when they're ready to leave, they are leaving with low energy and cannot penetrate the blanket of the carbon dioxide. So it leads to that heating up. So the same thing happens in a greenhouse with the green transparent glass and those areas with plants, all right? So the same way the carbon dioxide is acting like the green glass, where it is trapping some energy from leaving, all right? With reference to the carbon cycle, suggest 2 strategies. We'll look at plant more trees and look at regulating the emissions from the factories. Okay. Question 4. Yep. 2 events that occur in each of the following stages. Meiosis 1, prophase 1, you have the thickening of the chromosomes and replication. Anaphase 1, you have the line up on the equator and the nuclear membrane disintegrates. Telophase 1, you have the nuclear membrane forming back and you have the cytoplasm splitting. Ready, going for cytokinesis, right? Part B1, mutations and sexual reproductions are 2 processes which can lead to variation in the population of a species. State 1 way in which both processes are similar and 2 ways in which they differ. So 1 way they are similar, they form variation or variety. And the 2 ways in which they differ, well, the sexual reproduction is sex-linked and your mutation is hereditary link. And sexual reproduction is through sexual intercourse, while mutations could take place at any time, right? Explain the difference between variation in communities and variation in population and suggest 1 way in which diversity benefits the community. Variation in communities is the difference amongst different species. So in a community, remember, is made up of different species in one area. So variation in a community will be the difference among the different species. variation in a population. Remember, population is the same species in a region. So it could be a difference or in those same species, things that are different in them, right? Just like human population, and you'll find that people have widow's peak, or they could have the earlobe attached or detached from the face and so on, right? And one way in which diversity benefits the community, greater stability. It produces organisms that are better to adapt to environmental changes, right? Briefly explain how bacteria may become resistant to antibiotics. Well, the first time you take the antibiotics to fight the bacteria, it will kill out most of them. If you don't take the full course, normally it's 5 days, we take them antibiotics. If you take it for 3 days, they might kill out most of them, and then it might have some that will remain back. And those probably might be the ones resistant to the antibiotics, and they will remain back in spores form or in the full adult bacteria, and they could multiply. And then when you take the same antibiotic, if you get infection later on, you'll find that the bacteria that are inside there is resistant to the antibiotic. So you'll have to change the antibiotic to fight those resistant one from the first antibiotic type, right? So let me recap that. You're taking an antibiotic to destroy bacteria, right? So you take it, you put it in the system, and it kills out 80%, 20% there. And then you could say those 20% could be resistant to the antibiotic, and they could multiply. And then you take continuously taking the antibiotics, and it's happening, they multiply because they're resistant to the antibiotics, right? As one way. The next way is if it is you take the antibiotics and you don't take it for the full course, well then you didn't kill out all of the bacteria. Some might remain in a dormant stage, spores, and then eventually, sometime in the future, when the condition is favorable, they could multiply. And those that multiply from the spores um, are resistant to the previous antibiotics. So when you go by your doctor now, you get sore throat, you take the same antibiotic, that ain't going to do nothing. You'll have to change your antibiotic to 5 doses, right? So hope you understand that for 2 marks. You're taking antibiotics, it kill out some remain. Those that remain are resistant. They will multiply, and then if you take the antibiotic again, it will do nothing, right? Part B1, oh, looking at that there. Right. Question 5. Describe the location and structure of the normal human female reproductive system. Right, so the location is to the abdomen area, right, of the female, and it consists of the ovaries, which are connected to the fallopian tube, which is connected to the uterus and the vagina. All right, so to tell us to describe what you're going to do for this question here was draw a quick sketch and label the parts and state which part of the body of the female that is located, right? And make sure you have the ovary, the fallopian tube, the uterus, the vagina, the cervix, right? A newly married couple wants to delay having children for a few years, suggests one temporary contraceptive method that the couple could use to prevent pregnancy at each of the following. Right? Preventing fertilization will be the condom. Preventing ovulation will be your hormonal birth control pills. Preventing implantation will be the intrauterine device, right? The IUD, right? Explain how each of these work. Preventing fertilization, the condom prevents the sperm from entering the vagina and thereby reaching the egg, right? It prevents that fertilization. Prevention of ovulation, that hormonal birth control pill will control that ovulation process in the menstrual cycle and prevent an egg from entering the fallopian tube or oviduct. And the preventing implantation, that that is where we use the intrauterine device as a small device that is put into the vagina close to the cervix of the female. It prevents the egg, the fertilized egg, if it fertilized, well, yeah, for from being implanted, right? So it prevents that zygote from being implanted, and that's what that uterine device, and that uterine device there will control that thickness of the wall, so that if it is something is fertilized and coming down in uterus, it can't be implanted in a thin wall, so it will fall out. Right? Question 6. State the name of the final products of digestion for each of the following. Carbohydrates is glucose, proteins, amino acids, fats is your fatty acids and glycerol. In addition to the macronutrients, list 3 other types of nutrients in your diet that would promote the maintenance of good health: vitamins, minerals, um, and you could have your fiber there. Right? Mary, diabetic. Husband, Marvin, is not. Explain how the concentration of sugar in Marvin's blood is kept within the normal range several hours before and after he eats a carbohydrate meal. Well, before carbohydrate meal, if all you could watch all your notes, all you will see the graph where we had, right? And you had the normal, and then you had somebody who is not suffering from diabetes. We had weak curves, and one who is suffering from diabetes, right, with higher peaks. So he is not diabetic. So before um, he eat a carbohydrate meal, his blood glucose level will drop a little bit. And if it is he involved in some strenuous exercise and he need that glucose, that is stored in a different form in the liver, and that form is glycogen. And the islets of Langerhans will release glucagon that will convert that glycogen in the liver into glucose and make it readily available for his muscle cells, right? So the process that is happening before carbohydrate meal is glucagon is released from the islets of Langerhans, converting glycogen in the liver into glucose. After a carbohydrate meal, the glucose level may go up. So therefore, insulin will have to release from the islets of Langerhans, and that insulin will convert your glucose into glycogen, which is stored in the liver, and bring down back the glucose level concentration in the blood. Explain why Mary is advised to limit her consumption of simple carbohydrates. The simple carbohydrates is like your glucose, fructose, and so on. She's diabetic. So if it is that she um, takes in that simple carbohydrate, once it coming into the body, it will be used up rapidly. And that is how she will always have to be, the excess of Langerhans will have to convert glycogen into glucose to bring up the glucose level, or she might have to take insulin shots there in order, if it is that it go too high too now, and to convert it back into glycogen. So that simple carbohydrate, she should limit that and probably take in the complex carbohydrates that take a longer time to digest. Right? We're okay with that. So that, let me just check through the papers to make sure that we answer the procedure, we answer everything concerning question 1, answer everything concerning question 2, answer everything concerning question 4, and answer everything concerning your question 5 and your 6, right? So just pay attention to your diagrams that I tell all you, your xylem, phloem, your um your eye, the skin, and the mitosis and meiosis. That is this diagram here. So make sure you find this in your notes, right? Um, find that in your notes and make sure you know to draw each and to label each one, right? And also, yeah, this one here. This one here was your meiosis. Make sure you find that and you know your two parts of your meiosis, right? Make sure you could fill in some things in a diagram or draw it, right? Your mitosis and your meiosis, right? So focus on everything that we talk about, and I wish everybody well, right? I'll see everybody. Take care.